Howard Stern Show.
Wasn't Jamie Foxx, like, early on in your career before you became famous? Didn't you live at his house for a while?
Yeah, and that was actually the first time I'd seen him since then. It was actually a really, really cool reunion.
That was pretty gracious of him. Like you were a struggling artist. You hadn't been signed yet. Every record company had passed on you. And I guess Jamie Foxx's manager or somebody had heard you in a club and said, hey, come on, hang out with Jamie. And you hung out with Jamie. And then Jamie puts you up in his house.
The thing that did for me, like the amount of confidence that I'd lost being in England and doing the same rounds over and over again and going into record labels and them being like, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then me being like, fuck it. Well, if I can make a sort of living doing gigs in London, I'm sure I can go over to LA and do it. So there was this guy, John, that ran a night called Fly Poet in Inglewood.
Right.
So I flew over and did that night, and I said to John, do you know any other shows that you can book me in for? So he booked me in for a bunch over the month, and then I ended up playing the Foxx, which was Jamie's club, and then Jamie's manager said, come on the radio show, which I think is a serious show as well.
Yes, it is.
Played on that, and then Jamie said, I've got a studio at my house, do you want to just use it for free? And so within a month, and then I flew home, and within a month of going there with like zero confidence, being able to fly to LA with nothing and end up at one of the biggest movie stars in the world's house recording, in my mind I was like, well, I must have something. And so going back to England, I sort of had this charged battery in my back.
Does it feel weird living at a guy's house, like that big a star, and like you're not anybody yet? I mean, does it feel like, oh shit, I just feel weird being here?
No, I didn't want to like overstep my mark at all. I didn't want to like take something out of the fridge that wasn't. I just felt very. I felt very grateful to be there.
What do you do? Like you haven't seen him in a long time, right? Like,
well, so from there, I flew home and literally, because I had this like charged up battery in my back, just started smashing out independent EPs in England and doing like tours all over. So by the time I got back to broke the US, I'd spent like 4 years touring the UK, so I hadn't even like had the opportunity to see him. So he had literally seen me like one day in his
living in his basement.
Yeah, and then one day at the CB thing.
Wow. Oh my God, it's great. So at the Grammys, did he have a chance to say, "Holy shit, I cannot believe what's happened"?
Yeah, man, we
had
a good. I've seen him a bunch since then as well. We've always had a good chat. He's such a kind, gracious person.
When you live it, this is a mundane question, but when you're living at Jamie Foxx, do you buy your own food? Like, did you offer to like, hey, I'll go out and do some grocery shopping or some chores?
Do you know what? When I first got to Inglewood, I did this gig and I made $700 from selling my CDs. Right. And then when Jamie invited me out to his house, I was like, right, I'll get a yellow cab. And he, assuming he lived in Beverly Hills or something like that, and he lived like 2.5 hours outside of Los Angeles. So my bill ended up being about $800. So they had to lend me $100.
Oh, Jesus!
So when it came to me offering to buy food, I was like, yeah, I haven't got anything. Sorry.
I mean, your story is not unlike so many other artists. I mean, you were sleeping on people's couches at the beginning of your career, and like sort of relying on the good graces of friends and things to sleep on their couch.
I mean, music's a weird thing because it's literally 0 or 100. You make nothing and then you make a lot. So to be a successful musician, you have to be broke. You have to spend three or 4 years living on couches and relying on strangers being kind to you.
And how many guys do you know who did the whole being on couches and stuff and then don't make it? It's crazy sad.
No, do you know what? The only ones that I know that don't are the ones that had a plan B. So the moment you go, I don't want to sleep on this couch anymore, but I have this really good job that I can go to. That's the moment that it doesn't happen. I've actually never met anyone that has set their mind on something and not achieved it. Eventually,
it is so true.
Because there are actors like there are actors that make it when they're 50. And they become the biggest actor in the world when they're 50, and that's because they haven't had a plan B and they've just been like, no, fuck it, I'm going to do it.